Hello, welcome back to Design Elements and Principles. Still working in the elements phase of our journey through the design elements and principles. Today, we're going to talk about value. We're going to talk about value. Sorry, something struck me. It's not even supposed to show. It just says not available. Let's say something else. We'll go over the lecture. I have a little, like a 1 second example on grayscale. We'll go over the lecture, and then I'll run through our standard setup. The news, spring break starts tomorrow. We have a week off. Nothing new is assigned. We come back, and I was wrong. We're going to talk about space on the Tuesday we come back. And I know this is way in the future. This is weeks away. And then we're going to talk about general layouts. And then we have 4 weeks left. What's going to happen, just so you guys know, the design practices go away, and you are going to start working on 2 bigger projects for the last 4 weeks as well. So that will switch to your research, your principles project, and then you'll have a new assignment, one on Tuesdays and one on Thursdays, but bigger. So you'll actually be creating some graphic design artwork. But we need to get you through this first part. You gotta get you playing around, trying things out, understanding some concepts before we jump in and actually start working on design stuff. But that's happening soon, very, very soon. So after the break, we just have a little bit to clean up, and then you'll be working on something. If you're like, oh, when are we gonna do a project? It's coming. Don't you worry. We're going to get to it. So it's all good. For some people, my links got broken for the design practices. Just hit that send Joel, let me in, and I did it. I went through and I redid everything, and the links should be working again. But a couple people just properly hit the let me in, and I did it as soon as I saw it. So unsure of how my links got broken, but working through different systems, sometimes that happens if there's a reset of some sort. So no big deal. Just make sure you hit that, and I'll get you back in and rolling. So let's talk about value in design. All right. Value. So we've talked about color. We've talked about a bunch of different other things. Value is, I would call it almost a subset of color, but it doesn't have to be. It is, it's just dealing with light and dark, the fundamentals of light and dark, how we use those in a design, how they create mood in a design, and how we can use that to help guide the eye in a design. So it may seem very value is just from light to dark, but we can use that in so many different ways to trick people to look areas, see things differently, feel a certain way. Because remember, we're storytellers. Graphic designers are communicators and storytellers. And we're trying to get people to have an emotional response to our design, because what that does is that gives an emotional response to what we're showing them, that visual communication. So if it's a client, or if it's a posting about something, or if it's, and we can kind of tug at the heartstrings and have an emotional change, they'll remember that better. If you have no emotional tie to something, your mind just throws it away. All right, whatever, I don't need it. But if you have an emotional tie to it, and you're like, oh my gosh, that's so, oh, I love that, and you have a response, you're going to remember it. And value can be used in working with that in design. So let's jump into it. Let's get going. All right, definition and characteristics. Value refers to relative lightness and darkness of a color tone, often measured on a scale from black to white. Yeah, I agree with that. That is what we got going on here. Sounds good. Characteristics, values are used to depict the amount of light. So this is the science, that a surface reflects or absorbs. Light values are associated with highlights, while dark values are associated with shadows. So Easy enough. I get that. Yeah. When light is fully absorbed, it's actually white. And I think when it's fully absorbed, it's black. I'm thinking about colors. And then reflected black back to you is light. So how do we work with that? Well, we can create contrast. And that's like one of the first things we can do in working with that emotion. So high contrast, that means that there's distinct value changes, meaning I would just say yellow and black. Think of caution signs is yellow and black. Caution tape, we get that caution tape. Again, I don't know why I feel like I'm always bringing up Halloween. I'm not that big of a Halloween person, but you get that caution tape and you put it out in front of your yard or whatever. You put it on your door, caution, but it's yellow and black. High contrast. We can see it. I can read it. I know like a mile away when I see a yellow, like wavy line, I'm like, oh, somebody's got up a caution line, like it is high contrast and it's very easy to see. Low contrast, things that just kind of blend together, that blends into the background. If you look out, it was foggier this morning, but if you look outside and you look out and you're like, the atmosphere just kind of makes the distance disappear when it's foggy. Consider that low contrast. Things can hide in the fog. Well, that can be creepy too. Like things are just hiding in the fog because you can't see it. Everything's low contrast. Or, dare I say it, because I'm not a big person into this, camouflage. Camouflage is created to create low contrast with the surroundings so you blend in. But low contrast also, we think of those lighter, airier designs. Earth Day's coming up, doing an Earth Day project with students. Like, oh, that should be probably lower contrast, greens and blues working together, because we want to feel harmoniously about the planet and Earth Day. So we use low contrast there. You can use the value to help define form. So we did that project, and I had you do it very specifically in creating form of only using 3 colors: 100% black, 50% gray, and white. Make sure you're reading all the directions when you do your projects too. Okay, I'm just sending it out. Check your assignments. But I do have specific things in there. But you can do it, if we open up that gate and we start doing gradients, we can really, show form in a much better way. But that's how we define form. It's usually we associate it with, light and, so if we do just a cube, but then I start, if I darken one side, it already helps add to that contrast and value. And then if you do like a 50% here, it brings it to life a little bit more than it was just all open spaces, or as I call it. So establishing hierarchy. I'm going to show you that in the very first example that I have, is that if you have high contrast parts within a design, the eye is going to go to those high contrast parts right away. Just like I was talking about with the yellow and black, my eye is going to go to the darkest darks, or if it's a dark piece, the lightest lights. Like what's standing out to me? What is my eye looking for? And that's how we use it. We want people to look at certain parts. We make it stand out with dark values, like black, black, black. And I see those first. So establishing hierarchy. And we'll talk about hierarchy in the future, but hierarchy is the understanding that when we have a communication, that not everything's the same importance. We change importance. What's the first thing we want them to read? What's the second thing we want them to read? And what's the third thing we want them to read? So we establish hierarchy in every design piece that we create, because there are certain things that are more important than others. If everything was always the same importance, we would just have these boring, we'd just be typing one size font on a white piece of paper and putting it everywhere, and just hoping that everybody understood. If they read the whole thing, they knew what they were supposed to be understanding. but we don't. And so we do things like make bold, darker areas as compared to lighter font areas. So there is a value difference when we see these. Darker stands out, lighter, not as much. All right, grayscale. It's a range of values. You know, we talk about grayscale, range of values from black to white with the shades. Grayscale is used to represent values in a monochromatic way. We talked about tints, tones, and shades. Tone being that grayscale, but we will use this tonal range. I don't want to say that like it's not the most eloquent way to say it. So we kind of just say, like, if we don't say grayscale, I'm not saying tonal range. We may just use value. Like the value of that color could be darker. The value of that color could be lighter. And we are talking about tonal range. Now, a cool little thing, I'll show you this. I love little color experiments. Here we have a series of colors, and they're all pretty different. I can see differences in them, and they, you know, like I feel pretty good about the way these looks. But tonally, they're very similar. And the way I can show that, and we used to have to do this, once in a while with pieces, is you would design a piece and then you would just take it into a program similar to this, but it used to be just easy. You do it at JPEG in Photoshop. And so all the same colors, right? Everybody see that? And magically, I'm going to go to edit, color settings. No, where's it? Edit colors, excuse me. And I'm going to go convert to grayscale. Now I'm only the same are on the top as the same grouping on top and bottom. Convert to grayscale. Now you can see when I convert these, especially with this bottom layer, tonally, this color is the exact same as this color. And oddly, this color is a little bit lighter. And if I was to put this pink here, it'd be almost the same. Look tonally, and then tonally, these just slowly, that's probably a 5% difference, if even, going down the line. The same colors. But if we look at them in color-wise, and so somebody may say, if you're doing a design with these 4 colors, it may be said, tonally, your piece, there's nothing popping. But you say, well, I'm using like these 4 different colors. It's great. And then you change it and you look, oh, okay. Tonally, they're all very similar. Even though they're different colors, tonally, they're very different.
I have a question.
Sure.
Why does the lighter colors look darker when they're on the grayscale?
Why do they look darker when they're on the grayscale?
Yeah, like the red, for example.
I don't know. I think it's optical illusions.
Oh, okay.
I think it's and it's the way the computer somewhat changes it. But yeah, tonally, whatever the computer does to draw out the color and replace that with just the black, I don't think it's just relying on simply the black. You know, like, so if I look at this color and I go to this, it is 110, 150. There's 0 black in it. And so the mathematical treatment for that then with this fill ends up being 67.5% gray. I will tell you, because I'm not a computer program designer, I don't know how they convert it. And then, yeah, it does look different. I would say saturation is probably what we're thinking of. So saturation is that how much pigment is getting put down. And so what we're seeing here is a variance of 3 different pigments transferring to a single pigment. And so we're seeing a heavier saturation of color because there's like I said, there's 100, what was it? 10, 100, and 50. And there's 100 of magenta. So that's pretty high. So that's a high saturation color. So I think that's where you're seeing that difference. If I would believe that would be the best way to explain it, is tonally the transfer is the same, but we're seeing a rich saturation in color here. But when that color is removed and we exchange it for just a single pigment, it loses some of its maybe darkness as you're referring to it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Thank
If
you.
it doesn't, you can be like, I don't know what you're talking about.
No, I get exactly what you're talking about. It's okay. Thank you, though.
So, yeah, but I love that little experiment there to talk about that. Don't say. All right, let me move over, switch over. All right. Application values are used in a layout design, typography, and image composition to create visual hierarchy. I just talked about that. Mood. High key. Designs with predominantly light values can convey a sense of brightness, purity, and optimism. Of course. I don't know why my mind always wants to reverse high and low key. I should just say low light, highlight, low light, highlight, low light. Designs with predominantly dark values evoke a mood and mystery. We'll get to that one. And then balance and harmony, achieving. We always talk about balance and harmony. I mean, that's just essential in every design. Let's start looking at some examples. Oh yeah, let's pedal on the Parliament. What do we see? Two colors. That's one awesome thing about this design, which we don't do a lot of, which I keep telling myself, and I make students do like 2-color designs and push them to try different things. One of these days I will. But we have 2 colors. This is the darkest value of that blue, and of course, the darkest value of the black. When I look at this, the heaviest dominant is right here. This is what I need to know first, right? Darkest, most heavy part. Pedal on Parliament. All right. And then you know what? My eye goes to here, to the person. And then generally then up to the little side. So I'm following the darkest darks with my eyes first. Some people may do it in a different order, but that's generally what we want the emphasis to be. We want people to see this. We want people to see the lightness. Like it's not, you know, it's a fun thing. We're trying to do, you know, making cycling in Scotland safe for all, you know, great. Let's do it. It's going to be fun, you know, great. And then we use all this tone in the background is a single color of this blue, but that teal is just half tone. Here it's half toned. Here it's just 50%. I'd probably say this is at 75%. And so they're developing the design only using 2 colors. And the coolest part about it is when they use black, they only use 100% black. And then for the teal, they did the full range of teals. And so all this can work. All this design can work is from literally 2 colors. Back when we were talking about color, and I talked about those Pantone books that have a single direct color that like a logo uses. I think I talked about it, Pantone. But you pick a single color, and then how do you make variants of it is you do tints, you know, and I showed you how to take that. I showed you in Illustrator how to take a color and make a tint of it, and it's the exact color, but tinted down to nothing. And then you can create great pieces with just 2 colors. But the exciting part in our lives as beginning designers is using every color we can. And it's fun, you know, like, oh, I have all this in my wheelhouse. I can do this, I can do that, I can do this, I can do that. So it becomes more fun. Can I move this? No. Yes, I can. Let's get this over here. This piece, all values, all transparencies, just layering upon layering upon layering. And this one is almost like up close. The impact isn't there, and you just kind of see like this giant letter 3, and then you see the D, and then maybe, I'm sorry, I hit them up. And then there's like a Y, maybe it's a Y, and then like a P, and just different things. But if I zoom out, I don't know if it'll work as good. It becomes to have some depth. I see it as like foreground, and then each letter slowly fades into the background. But the cool part is the way that it happens is the overlapping. And the more it overlaps, the lighter the values get, which brings it more and more forward. And some of the opacity. They've lowered opacities as well. So the opacity meaning the transparency of the color on top of another color. We can adjust transparency, which sometimes is a trickery in our minds between the difference between, if I look at these two, is what are we talking about when we talk about value and transparency? Depending on how they're used, we could see them the same way, but the effect might not be what we want. So if you were to do a design in Illustrator or in any program, let's say, and I took this solid color, but instead I made it the opacity change, the print, the final print may not be what we wanted because we're dealing with a transparency, which is different than changing the amount of ink laid on a page. So this is dealing with transparency and value. This is just only dealing with value. So there is a difference, and we don't want to mix those up because then you get the wrong things happening. I want to say sometimes we develop little shortcuts, but then the shortcuts in the end being long cuts, that if you were to do this piece the wrong way, it's going to come back from the printer and they're going to be like, why are all these like just different opacities rather than different tints? All this stuff comes into light later on in your life when you're dealing with, dealing with actual print. But right now we just want to get you working and playing around with general things. This one's all over the place. This one I show because it's like, it's everything has some sort of value change in it, every part of it. We have a background that looks like cardboard pyramids starting in the ground. Then everything on top of it has a slight transparency, which on top of those value changes creates more value changes. So even the darker gray, it's not full black. This is probably the fullest black, is somewhat transparent, which then changes that. These reds, you can see through the red to value, that adds value change to the red. Then the weird part is the value change in this dissected eyeball. Took me a long time to figure that one out. I was like, it's a flower? And I'm like, gross, that's not a flower, it's an eyeball. This is a drawing done in like a single color, but then the value changes in that are done by what we call like cross hatching. How much, how tight are the lines? How much, how many times do I cross that black line over and over that create? And so literally it's created with 100% black and white, but the way that we make the denser areas become darker and the less dense areas become lighter. So this is just like a huge play in different types of value throughout and what you can do and what you can play around with. Experimentation, trying different things out. Like it is a lot of fun. I love it. This is another like awesome experimentation in what we can fool the eye with in a design. If I could take this apart, this light white area is placed on top, and it is a single image placed on top of like color streaks. So pretend, did you guys ever see those spin art things where it's like a spinning plate and you like paint in the middle and it shoots out to the side. So somebody did that, pretend somebody did that. And then another person came over and they just put in this half transparent item over the top that just happens to have some cool effects in it. Now, what adds the cool effects is the fact that the tonal value in the middle is dark, and as it goes out, it gets lighter, which then this effect that's put on top of us makes this part seem more constrictive with these lines, adding to that design. And it makes it appear to be 3D. Like, I want to go in and grab that. I can't. See my hands trying to grab it? Like that little, I want to grab that tunnel. And it was done with line and value changes. Not even line. I'll call that shape. Like, they're big enough. There'd be shape and value changes. And it creates this piece that's like, wow, wait, how did they do this? And again, this is one of those. And I hope as you guys become designers and you're doing this, I looked at this for a while, like figuring out, okay, wait, what's on the front, what's in the back? Like, oh, okay. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I love okay, this is what they did. And you figure out what they did. And you keep it in your mind for later on. That I want to do that sometime. High key, low key. High key up here, sunlight coming in to the low key down here, creating such a sense of mood. Hey, the foreboding, the tragic, I don't know, it's Batman, Dark Knight, whatever, but it works so well. And it's a beautifully done piece. I love it. It's so cool. And it's all one color. It's black and white, but because it's so contrasty, the value changes. Pure black, like pure black down to the lightest. And it's like they just took a grade 8 and they're like bright to nothing, and then a little boop, boop, put some brights here to make his head stand out. So we just have that form, and they're like done. Like, it's goofily simple, but it has such power behind it for something to recreate. So that's the one. That's the moody one I'm here to show you. So pretty rad stuff. All right. Let's check out what we got to go do. Again, book cover, movie poster, album cover. Oh, we started. This is the start. All right, we're starting something new today. There we are. I knew this was coming up. Let's do this together. So there are now instructions on how to do this in Adobe Illustrator. This will add some time to your project, but it won't add much time. And you know now how to add images into Illustrator. You would just need to find your images and place them in. But let me walk you through the directions. And I am going to move mine over, and I'm going to dictate them while I do them so you can see them. So I'm going to go to Adobe Illustrator. I'm going to create a new file. I'm going to hit print. Doesn't fully matter. And I'm going to change the information here. All right. Now, for this one, you need to know in advance. Let's see. Titles, images, background. We're going to go to a single page. All right. We're not going to do double pages on this one. We're going to go to a single page. So print, and then over here, I'm going to change it from points. And sometimes when I do this and I type here, it changes back to points. We wanted width of 16 inches. I have no idea why I just did that. Sorry, I hit the wrong button. New file, print, inches, 16 by 9. All right, 16 wide by 9 tall. That's correct. 1 artboard. Bleed, all right? Bleed is 0.5 inches. Bleed is a marking, and we'll talk about this more in 2 weeks when I talk about layer, is an extension of the artboard that when we have something color that we want to have go off the artboard, we have it go to the bleed. Now we go to more settings. Oh wait, we are set here. And I'm gonna hit create. Now we need to create layers, and we're gonna create 2 layers. I'm gonna click on this layer here, and I'm gonna call it margin. Name the layer, M-A-R-G-I-N, return. I'm going to draw a box that is 15 inches wide by 8 inches tall. And all I'm going to do for that is I drew a box in general, right? And then here under my properties, I'm just going to retype in my numbers. Instead of trying to figure that out, I want 15, and I can hit tab, and I go to 8. Now I've created a box that is exactly 15 by 8. And I want to make sure that the box has no fill, not white. I want no fill, which is this red line. That means there's nothing in the middle. It's transparent, okay? And then I want the stroke to be magenta, this magenta color. See that there? Magenta. And 1 point. Now I want the box that I made to be perfectly centered on the artboard. All I have to do is click. See, this is a line just underneath appearance, a line. I'm going to have it center, and then center in the middle, and then center in the middle. See how that does it automatically for you? It's amazing. Now I'm going to go back up to this layer. I'm going to go to this hamburger menu up at the top. And this is all written step by step. So 1, you can come back and read this. 2, you can watch this video. This hamburger, the three lines is called a hamburger menu. And I'm going to go to template. What that did is it, 1, locked that layer. So we shouldn't put any more artwork in there. And it made it a template. This pink line will not show up when you export or print. It is a special template layer that shows us that for a margin, anything important on the page should not go past the margin. So, for example, if you had an image, you should not put your image past the margin, as you don't want it to get cut off in the process of developing a piece. More on that when we get to layers. But right now, just kind of, you're starting the build. I am going to now create a new layer by hitting plus. I'm going to double click on that, and I'm going to write crop marks and hit return. Now, in this one, I'm going to create another box, all right? But that box is 16 by 9. I want it to just be the exact size of my artboard, okay? I'm going to make sure I'm clicked on it. I'm going to double check. It's 16 by 9 right here. Then I'm going to double check that it's all in place, centered. And now for this one, we're going to do something new. I don't want any fill, and I don't want any stroke. So we want those to be the red lines through it. That means nothing. It's transparent. But then what I'm going to do is right down here, see the FX. That FX stands for effects. I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to go to crop marks, and I'm going to hit click. And it automatically puts in some crop marks. And then I'm going to lock that layer and be done with that layer. Crop marks are indications for in a print setting of where the edge of the artboard is so that they cut it out properly. It is something that needs to go on every document that we create. It's something that we're going to do from here on out. And it's all good. Now I am going to, generally I create the stuff now below. So I'm going to make 3 And there's something that says the very last thing is adjust the layer order. So I'm going to make a layer called titles. This is where you will use the type tool and type in your titles. That was sloppy. So it would be like book cover. Now to do this, there's two types of type, and I want you to do what is called point type, which is all you do is tap. Don't draw a box. That's area type. I want point. So just simply tap it. Click once, you'll get that, and then write in movie poster. Don't hit return. And then you can scale it. That's very small. If I grab the corner and I hold shift, just like, but that's how we do that. So play around with different fonts, have some fun. So that's where your titles go. Then we're going to make a layer for images. Images are your examples. I just called it images, whatever, And then I'm going to make another layer, and that's background. All right. I'm going to rearrange these now. I want crop marks at the top, margin here, and I want that background to be all the way in the back. So what does background mean? Well, say I love the color yellow. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make a box from the bleed to the bleed, and I'm going to turn it yellow. That's my background. Then I get my titles, and I can put in whatever titles I want. If I put in like elements value, think about what you did in your other projects, but here you're doing it as a designer. And then I'm like, again, nothing goes beyond that. I'm not going to push it here. That's the artboard. It'll get cut off. I use the margin as my area. And then I want to change this font because you know what? We're graphic designers, and you should never, ever just use the standard font that pops up. Why? Look, you can have thousands of choices. As a graphic designer, why would you just go with the standard font that pops up? Like, where's the fun in that? Like, here, I got the cool one, elements value. And then to make it easier, I can do stuff like, I can take that and I can copy and paste it. And then I'm like book. And I'm going to do book cover. And I want that one smaller. And so I grab it and I hold shift. We never not hold shift when we're moving, sizing things. And then I'm going to do copy paste. And this is album cover. And I'm going to copy paste. And I'm going to do this last one. And this is book cover, album cover. Oh, why am I blanking? Movie poster. So both have to be redone. Now here's the cool part. I have these three words and I want them equally spaced. You scroll down. There's so many tools in here, and I want to go to under align. All right, see this? Some are hidden, so you just got to go for it. And then whenever there's three dots, that means, hey, there's more here. You should click on here for more ideas. And I'm going to click on that. And one of the greatest tools besides this aligning objects in Illustrator is distribute spacing. And all that does is it'll make sure that there's an exact same amount in the spacing between these two. So I'm just going to click on that. I was really close. You see, I just moved like a half an inch. But if I do it like even more, so like say I'm like, this is up here and this is here, here's what I'll do. I'll go here and I want all of them to line up on their lowest point. Oh, you have to have them all selected first. So I select all three and I want them all lined up on the lowest point. You got to select them all, Joel. Lowest point. Then I can move those up as a group. And then I click on those and I hit distribute spacing and boom. So I wasn't there like trying to figure out one at a time. You group it up. Again, like here, I don't know why they're like that. And I'm just grabbing, all three are selected. And again, to get them to line up with each other, I'm going to click on this one. And then to distribute the spacing, I'm going to click on this. See how easy that was? It was 2 clicks. I didn't sit there. I wasn't trying to futz around. And then for the images, we just place them. File. Oh, you got to be on the right one. I was on the line. File, place. This comes up. I don't know if I have anything worth placing. I'll place something like this. Place, and it goes in, and then we get it set up. How do we want it? Now here, like say I want it, and I want it like, oh, I want book cover to be centered with this. Grab those 2, unlock the layers. Grab those 2, and what do we do? Just scroll down, center them up, and then hold shift and move them over. Now book cover is perfectly centered behind this. So there's so many ways to use that. And then when we scale it, again, we always hold down shift. You guys have been practicing adding images. Oh, that wasn't shift. Already? So this is, all you're doing is starting to recreate a document. And like I said, it's all here, step by step by step by step by step by step. All right? And this is how we get it. If you're already in the Illustrator class, you're like, I know this stuff already. Good. If you're not, this is how I teach people. This is how you make a document. And we'll be doing this from here on out. And we're going to switch off from Illustrator to InDesign, Illustrator, InDesign, so you get practice in everything. And then just baby steps. Is there any questions about creating a document in Illustrator? All right. You know how to reach out to me. Value project. Create 3 monochromatic compositions using value to define the design. Huh. So I taught you how to, I'll teach you again, but I'll teach you how to do those tints again. Downloads. But what I created is a simple value composition. It is one color and tints of that color that create a scene or something that is showing us depth. So we have the, like mountains in the foreground, the skies in the background, and the moon's up there. And this is actually 3 tones only. I did it really simple. You could go crazy with this. Have some fun. It's like seeing in black and white. And you just kind of create. This is all just pen tool. The moon was 2 circles, one cut out of the other. Play around, have some fun. Trace stuff. Do you guys know about trace? You can bring in an image and trace it with Illustrator. But let's do this tint thing again. Again, please remember to work in your proper layers and turn off my layers when we come to these projects, and make sure that we're working with the design template that I have put forth for you to use, as you need to get used to working in other people's templates instead of just like, I'll make my own. Why don't you make your own? It's already done. All right. I'll go to my artwork, your artwork here, and I will just make a square, and I'm going to make sure that there's no stroke on it. Always turn off that stroke. I wish there was a way. I got to figure out a way to like always, like whenever I open Illustrator, that stroke is turned off. And I'm going to take the color sliders to make a weird color. Let's go like teal, but I'm going to add some black and some magenta. And be like, oh, I like that color. All right, I like that color. What do I do next? All right, so I'm going to go, I blended my color. I'm going to click on the square boxes right there. Click on that. And I'm going to click on the plus sign here. And I would call this dark teal. And I'm going to hit from process color to spot color. And I'm going to hit OK. It is now here, right there. See it? And it's got a little dot, which means spot. And then that way, when I do my design, I just made a bunch of squares. I can then click on that and be like, oh, I'm going to make that lighter. Oh, I'm going to, go to that one. And then you can change your values as you see fit for your design. Oh my gosh. Why is that one not selected? There you go. And that's how you make that spot color. It is so much fun to use spot colors. Like, learn it, know it, use it. It makes life easier. Like I said in the past when we were doing the color one, I was like, instead of like trying to figure out, it's like 3 steps and you have it built, instead of being like, the lighter version of this color would be this. Like, no, just make it your own. So is there any questions about this piece? All right, cool. Have some fun with it. I've seen some great ones. Just think they can be very simple and effective is the great part about it. All right, design practice 6. This is Polisher. Let's see. All right, it worked. I hope it works for everybody. Like I said, I did relinks. So again, double click. I believe this is InDesign. Yep. Polisher. Oh. And again, we're just going to go and, what are we missing? I got some things, not everything. So we go to layers, and I unlock the stuff that we're looking at, and I am missing Paula and the 3 examples there. So photo, I'll unlock it, click on it, file, place. Sorry, this comes up, look on my computer. I know it's in my downloads. It has been extracted. It's in links. And it is this PS photo. The PS is Polisher photo. And there it is. And I click on it and it places it in. And you're like, good gosh, that's huge. Here's the quick way to change that. 2 key points to know. And this is something I use all the time. Up here at the top, you should have a bar going across. If you don't, it is control panel, the control. This gives you immediate controls, and sometimes they opt out of it. Like, they have you be like this because there's like more room to design, but then all of these controls are further away. Like, I just like them at the top. I guess it's a personal preference. So turn on controls. And now I'm going to make sure that this little white dot is in that corner. That means if I change the percentage here, it shrinks it and it keeps this corner where it is. I know it may sound odd, but what I'm going to do is that Polisher picture came in really big because it's super high res and it's perfect. And I'm just going to type in there 50 and hit return. And it perfectly shrinks that image by 50%, keeping it constrained to that corner. And I'm just going to go 50 again. And now that I have it in a comfortable position, I can like put it over here, use free transform, making sure that I hold down my shift button and then make it the size I need. And again, as you need to, you zoom in, you move around, use that space bar, that handy dandy space bar, which gives me the ability to hold down the space bar, click and move my mouse and move that image around. Oh, it's so glorious, the things you can do with these shortcuts. And again, holding down shift, and I'm going to get that right there. We got the other images. That was the photo. Let's place in the examples. File, place, 1, 2, 3, open, 1, 2, 3. I'm going to grab all 3 of those click and drag across. I'm going to make sure that's there, and I'm going to hit, sometimes I go real small and I just go to 25 right away. I could probably do 50 right now. It just, whatever you can do to speed up the process and take out that hand labor of like, I need to grab the corner, and just do it. You find them and you do it. So this one, grab free transform, make sure I'm holding down shift and get it to where I want it. I went past and then back up. Boston. Let's free transform it. There we go. And bring in the noise, bring in the funk. I want it actually up a bit. Zoom in when you got to, especially if you're working on a tiny screen. Oh boy, I did not want to do that. And there we go. Any questions, comments, or concerns about your design practice? All right, cool. And then you know to do your reading, and let me know what you think. We're on color. This is like I know color should have been here. Things are changing in the future, in which the color textbook will be there. Any other questions, comments, or concerns about today's lesson?
I have a question, but it's like not really related to the lesson at all.
Do you want to talk offline?
Sure, we could do that.
All right, just send me a quick email right now.
Okay, I could do that.
All right, cool, thanks. Then, so everybody knows, did I say this earlier? Spring break starts today, tonight. Spring break starts tomorrow. Starts tonight at midnight. As you know, I don't assign. You just have your standard assignments. So it is not like I'm assigning you work over spring break, but it's due the Thursday after we get back from spring break. So there may be like one day taken out of there. But so just check your due dates. Make sure you're looking at your due dates there. See, it's the 24th of April. And then these are supposed to disappear. And those will start disappearing as well. So awesome. I will be around. I will be checking. I'll try to check most days over the break if you have questions, comments, but give me a little bit extra time as we all have spring break. And but I'll be around. So like, don't be like, he said he wouldn't be around. I'll be around. Just when you email me, or have a comment or a question, just be like, all right, give him some time. Maybe he's not working right now, but we'll work in the morning or work at night, like whatever. So coolio. Enjoy your break. When you get back, we start into delving into one last principle, and then we learn about layouts, and you're going to develop layouts, and then we're going to start working on other projects on top of everything. So be prepared. It gets we start to increase the work as we go through the semester, and I know you are understanding more and more. So awesome. Thank you very much, and I will see you all on the discussion boards. Enjoy your break.